Results of the 5th National Survey of Australian Secondary Students and Sexual Health provides a picture of teenagers generally acting responsibly and being mostly happy about the choices they make. About 25% of Year 10 students and 50% of Year 12s reported having had sex. I always love to share this stat with young people so they realise that not everyone is doing it. You can see the shoulders release in the room. Students were also asked about their social media use and sending explicit photos via smartphone. The majority of sexually active students had received or sent a sexually explicit text. Very few found it an upsetting experience. I'm making a particular point of this finding because if we followed the headlines, we would believe that it always has a terrible outcome. It can, of course, but the majority of young people who are in sexual relationships are managing it. Lots of teachers and parents are feeling overwhelmed by technology and its impact on young people's relationships. So here's the thing. We can't police and control every new avenue of social interaction, and that's why good sexuality education helps young people develop a personal ethic and the skills that are transferable to all situations. You may have noticed that I keep pointing out that the research is often positive, or at least not as bad as it might seem. And that's because failing to acknowledge what's good means we miss the chance to have a true, meaningful conversation about relationships and sexual intimacy. And perhaps here's the result. A significant number of sexually active students, about 25%, have experienced unwanted sex, both girls and boys, but mainly girls. It's a pretty loose term, and it includes sex I regret to sexual assault. And there's a strong likelihood that students wouldn't understand that being frightened into sex constitutes sexual coercion because rape is assumed to be more violent. The most common reasons were because of pressure from a partner, being drunk at the time, or because they were frightened into it. Condom use remained stable at about 60% and went up to 80% if the young person had a condom on them at the critical time. So it makes a difference if we continue to teach young people that carrying a condom is a very good idea. While there's no question that many lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender young people still experience discrimination, even violence, at school, there's been a positive change, and you can and do make a difference. Students in schools which have specific policies in relation to LGBT students report feeling safer and are more likely to feel better about themselves than students in schools without such policies. Over the years, we've come to identify a recurring trend. Being sexually active is not always a terrible experience for young people. Keep in mind that most students are going well, and that we need to focus on the positives rather than assuming that sex is always a bad thing.